Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to explore a really unique story about the beginning of humanity. And this is a story that starts not here on Earth, but way out in the stars.
You know, the question of our origins, it's got to be one of the biggest mysteries we humans think about. But what if the answer isn't just buried in our past, but written in the stars? This particular account offers a pretty radical and incredibly detailed answer to that very question. Now, the source for this whole story is as unconventional as the story itself. It all comes through a man named Daryl Anka, who for over 40 years has claimed to channel an extraterrestrial consciousness named Bashar. So, according to Anka, Bashar is a first contact specialist from a parallel reality, and he shares information on a ton of topics, including this really unique perspective on our own physical history.
Okay, let's just dive right into this story. According to the information that comes through, our physical story kicks off hundreds of thousands of years ago with the natural hominids that had already evolved right here on Earth.
The story goes that an ET race, referred to in this account as the Anunnaki, came to our planet. Now, why were they here? Their mission was to mine specific minerals that they desperately needed to balance out the deteriorating weather back on their home world.
But the Anunnaki ran into a big problem. The mining task was, well, it was massive, and they were on a really tight deadline. They figured out pretty quickly that they were going to need some help.
So they looked around and they saw the native hominids that had already evolved on Earth. And this is where we get to a famous puzzle in our own evolutionary timeline. You see, there's this unexplained jump from early hominids like Homo erectus straight to Homo sapiens, which came with a sudden and just massive increase in our brain capacity.
So these Anunnaki, being master geneticists, came up with a solution, and it was, well, from our point of view, it was deeply controversial. They decided to alter the native hominids. They literally injected their own DNA into Homo erectus to create a new hybridized species, one that would be smarter, more capable, and able to help them with the mining, and that new species? That was Homo sapiens, us. So the really crucial point in this whole story is that the so-called missing link in our evolution might not be missing at all. The idea here is that it was actually the Anunnaki themselves, that external genetic infusion that just rocket-fueled our evolution forward.
Now, as you can imagine, as these early humans worked alongside their creators, they started to see these technologically advanced Anunnaki as godlike beings. Of course they did. And this created a really complex power dynamic, one where humanity was basically seen as a subservient workforce.
And this whole relationship, the story suggests, is what got written down and mythologized in our ancient texts. You know, the story of the Garden of Eden, for example. It's interpreted here as a metaphor for the gods wanting to stop humanity from gaining equal knowledge and independence. Why? Because if we became their equals, we couldn't be used as laborers anymore.
However, there was a major twist in the story. According to this account, the act of creating a sentient species just for labor, well, that might have been a direct violation of the Anunnaki's own galactic laws. A big no-no.
So this breach of law led to the original group being recalled home. But their bosses, you could say, felt a sense of responsibility for the new human race they'd created. I mean, they couldn't just abandon us. So they shifted into a new role, distant guides. They taught early humans the basics of civilization, things like agriculture, math, societal laws. And this, the story says, is what formed the basis for all our enduring myths of gods watching over us from the heavens.
Okay, now this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn, because it connects this ancient intervention directly to our modern-day biology and to our untapped potential.
For decades, scientists have been totally puzzled by something they call junk DNA. This genetic material, it makes up about 98% of our entire genome, but it doesn't seem to code for proteins, and it has no obvious purpose. It's been one of biology's greatest mysteries.
But this account proposes a radical alternative. What if that junk DNA isn't junk at all? What if it's a dormant inheritance, the genetic markers left behind by our extraterrestrial creators, containing a blueprint for abilities that are way beyond what we currently think of as normal? As our collective consciousness expands, the story suggests we are actually starting to turn on these dormant genetic markers. Things like telepathy, precognition, and other psychic functions might just be us beginning to reclaim the heritage and the abilities that the gods once had. All right, let's move to our final section and see how this all builds an even bigger picture of our family tree. And get this, it includes a very surprising relative.
This brings us to a huge fork in the evolutionary road. According to this information, the Anunnaki didn't actually alter all of the early hominids. The branch that was left behind to continue evolving naturally on Earth, they became what we now know through legends as Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
I mean, just think about that for a second. Without that intervention, we would be them. The Sasquatcher are said to have naturally evolved their own incredible abilities, including the capacity to shift between dimensions, which is exactly why they remain so elusive to us. They're genetically altered, alien cousins.
And if we zoom out even further, the story links our ultimate origins to the scientific concept of panspermia. This is the idea that the basic building blocks of life, like DNA, can travel through space and seed life on new worlds, which is how life may have gotten its start on Earth in the first place.
This makes us a true hybrid species in every sense of the word. Our foundational DNA might have come from the stars, it then evolved naturally on Earth into hominids, and then it was altered once more by another star-faring race. All of that created the complex beings that we are today.
And so, this incredible story of our past leaves us with a really powerful question about our future. If this genetic potential really does lie dormant within all of us, what part of that inheritance, what abilities, what new awareness are we ready to unlock next?